Animals are selfish. We protect ourselves and those we care about. But what about when it comes to the earth and plants? Lately, I've been reading Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, and it's got me thinking about the ways the earth, or more specifically plants, protect themselves from harm.
Misinformation.
It's hard for us to imagine a planet or plants fighting on their own behalf without making them look like a human or a creature, because that's what we know. Anthropomorphizing everything is just kind of how human stories do.
Who are you?
But since reality is many other things besides human, and those things also need to defend themselves, how do plants fight back? And I'm not talking about the happening.
Nothing happened.
I'm talking about the methods that plants have to protect themselves in the real world. Basically, this is a top 10 video, but more like a top 3 video because I'm lazy and sad, but also not really. I'm not a huge Watch Mojo fan, and I don't want to be making a straight-up listicle. So in the interest of making doofy references the whole time, I'm gonna keep it broad.
I'm an idiot!
You're an idiot!
Generally speaking, plants have 3 categories of defense mechanisms. As it turns out, these protections are not wildly different from the human immune system. So maybe our history of humanizing plants ain't too crazy after all. But anywho, plants have 3 major layers of defense when it comes to protecting themselves against herbivores. Obviously, there are many other defenses to protect against weather and their environment, but for the purposes of this video, we're focusing on plants versus predators. Because I want the Swamp Thing to be real, okay? The first category of protections for plants are called mechanical defenses. Many plants have exterior barriers which are intended to be impenetrable to their common predators.
Well, what's the problem?
There's some kind of force field.
This is comparable to how human skin protects our innards from exterior forces and pathogens. But because these are planty peeps we're talking about, you can also think of mechanical defenses as a sort of wall. And this takes many forms depending on the species. Your mechanical plant protection could be a waxy cuticle, a thick bark, thorns, or even an alliance with another species. Some acacia tree species have hollow thorns that ants will colonize. Then after making the tree their home, they'll fend off other herbivores that would otherwise eat the leaves.
This relatively huge grasshopper may think it's going to take a few bites out of the non-poisonous acacia, but the ants take a few bites out of it instead.
The second line of defense for plants is the fun one, chemical defenses. If the protective outer layer is breached, many plants employ enzymes or toxins to stop the intruder. Depending on the plant, this can take the form of a terrible smell like durian, or a bitter taste, or even poison, like hemlock or peyote. Of course, as is the case with peyote, some defenses might not work on every creature. I mean, humans grow the peyote cactus specifically to gain access to the hallucinogenic toxins. Other plants may have strong flavors, but we still like to eat them, like mint or arugula or kale. But that's still to a plant's evolutionary advantage thanks to humans' ability to farm. On the flip side, I wouldn't grow poison ivy, but the evolutionary advantage of that is that it's poisonous to the touch.
Find them. Kill them.
Yes.
And lastly, like all great jokes, the third method of protection employed by plants is timing.
You know what? We're sick of this. Let's kill her.
A plant may have no choice but to be eaten, but with correctly timed chemical reactions, a plant can teach animals never to repeat such a mistake. And many poisons take time to activate before the true level of severity reveals itself. But then it's too late. In this case, the plant's messenger is also the attacker. Sadly, there is no known humanistic plant man in existence. At least not yet. But given their leafy green immune systems, plants do a pretty good job defending themselves without being anthropomorphized. And that's the info about that.